people will tell you that men are simple, that what they crave is respect, intimacy, or maybe just someone who takes care of them. And while those things do matter, they are not the deepest craving that keeps a man connected to you. There is one thing men want more than all of those combined. It is not something they'll say out loud. In fact, most men don't even know how to name it. But when they finally feel it, everything changes. And here's the reality. Very few women give it, not because they're selfish, but because almost no one talks about this need. It's invisible in our conversations about love and relationships. In this video, I'm going to reveal what that one thing is, why it matters more than anything else, and how understanding it will completely shift the way men see you. By the end, you'll know how to give a man something he rarely experiences, and when you do, he won't be able to forget you. Why everything you've been told is wrong. Let's start here. Most of the advice about what men want is either incomplete or surface level. We've all heard the cliches. Men just want respect. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Men only want one thing. Yes, respect is important. Food is enjoyable. Physical connection matters. But none of these things create the kind of bond that makes a man stay loyal, open, and emotionally invested. Here's why. Those things are external. They satisfy immediate wants, but they don't fulfill the deeper, unspoken need that every man carries. Respect can be found at work. Food can be bought at any restaurant. Intimacy can be found without love. But the thing he craves most is much harder to find, which is why most men go through their lives never really experiencing it. This is why so many relationships fail, even when the woman gives everything she thinks he needs. She shows respect, she supports him, she gives her time and effort, but something still feels missing. That something is what we're uncovering here. Let me illustrate this with a simple story. I once asked a group of men a very direct question. What do you want most from a woman? The answers were predictable at first: respect, loyalty, attraction. But after some silence, one man said something different. He said, I just want to feel like I can be myself without being judged. That response stopped everyone. Because when you think about it, that's not the kind of answer men usually give. Most men don't even have the words to describe it. But when he said it, the others nodded quietly.
Yes.
They all felt it too, but had never put it into words. Here's the truth. Men are rarely given the space to admit what they need on an emotional level. From the time they're young, they're told to be strong, to hide their feelings, to act like nothing affects them. And so they grow into adults who don't know how to ask for the one thing they need most. They'll cover it up by saying they want respect or intimacy or freedom. But underneath, what they're really searching for is a place where they can be vulnerable without being criticized or made to feel weak. And that's the key. That's the rare thing almost no one gives them. The number one thing men crave. So what is it? The number one thing men crave more than sex, more than respect, more than companionship is emotional safety. Emotional safety means being able to be completely himself with you. It means he doesn't have to perform. He doesn't have to hide parts of himself. He doesn't have to fear that his honesty will be used against him. Think about how powerful this is. Most men spend their lives wearing armor. At work, they need to appear competent and confident. Around friends, they need to appear strong and in control. Even with family, they often hide what they're truly feeling. But with the right woman, what he longs for most is the chance to finally take that armor off. When he finds emotional safety with you, something changes inside of him. He no longer feels like he has to earn his worth in the relationship. He no longer fears being seen as weak. Instead, he feels accepted, valued, and at peace. And this is rare because while many women focus on supporting him, respecting him, or caring for him, they unintentionally miss this one deeper need. They don't realize that what he's searching for isn't just a partner who loves him, but a partner who makes him feel safe enough to be real. When you give him emotional safety, you become unforgettable, not because of how you look, not because of what you give, but because you become the one person in his life where he feels free. And that freedom is something men crave more than anything else. How women accidentally ruin it. Now that you know the deepest craving men have is emotional safety, we need to face an uncomfortable truth. Most women, without even realizing it, take that safety away. Not because they mean to hurt him, but because society doesn't teach them how delicate this need really is. Here's how it usually happens, turning his honesty into criticism. When a man shares something vulnerable like, I feel like I'm failing at work, it's easy to respond with, well, maybe if you were more focused, you wouldn't have that problem. The intention might be to help, but the result is that his honesty feels punished, minimizing his feelings. If he admits he's stressed, sometimes the reply is, that's nothing compared to what I go through. What he hears isn't comparison, it's dismissal. His feelings no longer feel valid, mocking his vulnerability. Even lighthearted jokes like teasing him for being nervous or insecure can close a door he may never open again. For men, vulnerability already feels dangerous. If it's met with laughter, it becomes impossible. Using his words later as a weapon. This is the most damaging. If he reveals a weakness in trust and weeks later it gets thrown back during an argument, the safe space disappears. He learns that opening up equals being attacked later. The truth is, men rarely open up fully. When they do, it's a fragile moment, and if that moment is mishandled even once, he may choose never to repeat it. How to actually give it. So how do you provide the emotional safety men crave? It doesn't require grand gestures or complicated techniques. It comes down to a few powerful but simple practices. 1. Listen without judgment. When he shares something vulnerable, don't evaluate, analyze, or immediately respond. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply listen with full presence, without interrupting, without planning your reply. 2. Validate his feelings. Validation doesn't mean you have to agree. It means you acknowledge what he feels as real and important. For example, I can see why that would upset you. Or, that sounds really difficult. These small sentences tell him his inner world is safe with you. 3. Respect his honesty. When he takes the risk of telling you something uncomfortable, treat it as a gift. Even if you don't like what you hear, thank him for being honest. A man who feels his honesty is valued will give more of it. Or protect his vulnerability. If he shares something in private, don't expose it in public, not even as a joke. Guarding his words shows him you can be trusted with the deepest parts of who he is. 5. Allow him to be imperfect. Emotional safety means he doesn't have to perform. He doesn't always have to be confident or strong or right. When he knows he can stumble in front of you without losing your respect, that's when he feels truly safe. These practices may sound simple, but very few people actually live them. Which is why when a man finds this kind of safety, it feels rare and life-changing. Why this makes you irresistible. Now, here's the most important part. Why does emotional safety matter so much? Why does it make a man not just love you, but feel bonded to you in a way he can't explain? The answer is in how the human brain works. Emotional safety lowers stress hormones and triggers the release of oxytocin, the same hormone that creates deep attachment. For men who often live with unspoken pressure to hide their feelings, this effect is even more powerful. Think about it. He can find attraction anywhere. He can share jokes with anyone. He can get validation from his career or his friends. But very few places in his life allow him to remove the armor and simply be. When you give him that place, you stop being just another woman in his life. You become the one person he can't replace. Because while others may excite him, only you give him peace. And peace is unforgettable. A man may forget the woman who impressed him, but he will never forget the woman who made him feel safe enough to be himself. This is why couples who have this dynamic last. It's not about constant passion or perfect communication or endless compatibility. It's about trust at the deepest level. The trust that says, with you, I don't have to pretend. And that trust, that's the foundation of loyalty, devotion, and lasting connection. So here's the truth. The one thing men crave isn't respect or sex or food, it's emotional safety. When you give it, you're not just his partner, you become his sanctuary. And once a man finds that, he'll do whatever it takes to never lose it. Thanks for watching.